The worst thing you could do is when you have these hidden, I call it personal agendas, which comes from all the junk that I was mentioning. Especially it comes when you hear commentators and their own ideas, and especially many of them are never actually set foot, they've never experienced any of these 8 stages, but they are experts apparently, somehow. It's like somebody who never swam writing a book on swimming. We laugh, but that's what we have. So, as far as years ago, I actually, when I first went to the United States, I had done wushu in the past in Lebanon. So I practiced martial arts, Chinese martial arts, Kung Fu. And I finally met this very well-known, legitimate teacher of different styles of martial arts, and an elderly Chinese grandmaster. And I met him, and he spoke very little English, and we had a translator in between us. And I asked him, because I wanted to learn Bagua, and which is, walking martial arts is very, that's what I used to use a lot, and I used to practice. And he said, yes, I will teach you that. And I said, how long will it take me to master it? And he laughed. I think you know where this is going. And there's a story which I'm reminded of now. There was a person, a traveler in a foreign country, foreign land, and he was walking. And so finally he gets to see some form of civilization by seeing this farmer in his field, plowing away. And he says, excuse me, sir, how far is it to the city? The man looks at him, and he just keeps on plowing. The man asks him again, the stranger. Again, this one now is not even paying attention to him. So he says, okay, I guess these people in this country are very uncivilized and very rude. So he continues on his path, and suddenly the man behind him says, 1 hour and 15 minutes. He stops, turns around, and he says, why didn't you tell me when I asked you? And the farmer says, well, I didn't know how fast you were going. I had to see your pace. Similarly, there is no set in stone type of a time period. That would be nonsensical. That would be rather stupid, if you allow me. Because many people have stopped their progress because of that. I've even heard some Mahatheras, very well-respected Mahatheras, who said, you cannot even experience the 4th jhana as a layperson, which is absolutely nonsense. You don't see an example of this in the suttas. Not only that, they said a layperson cannot experience Sotapanna. Who said that? Nowhere in the suttas do you see that. In fact, you see the opposite. So many lay people became anagamis. Hattaka of Alavi, Chitta were 2 examples. Visakha was another example, who attained, and they were very notable Dhamma teachers, enough so they would teach the Dhamma to Mahatheras. Bhikkhus of Lord Buddhas, they would teach them. As far as the time, therefore, it's totally up to the person. Now, of course, the person's merits, punya, this and that, can have a role to play. Can or could. But that should not stop the person from exerting the energy to go all the way. My urgency is this. Imagine you only have 5 minutes left on this planet. Would that change your relationship to the Dhamma? Many people say, well, I'll practice when I have the time, Bhante. I used to use that question a lot in therapy sessions. When people were saying, I hate this person, I hate my father, I hate my mother, I hate my husband, my wife, all these things. I say, okay, imagine someone calls you on the phone and they say, look at the news, watch the news. There's an asteroid coming and we only have 5 minutes left. What happens to that hatred that you have towards your loved one? Is it still there? I doubt it. Poof, gone exactly. So the key thing, rather than that question, because not every question deserves a legitimate answer, because not every question is worthy of an answer. But what I would offer this in turn is this. How much Sangvega does the person have in his heart? That is the necessary ingredient. That is what differs within a person who is a Sotapanna and a person who is not. Unfortunately, that's why you have a lot of bhikkhus on this planet. Theravada. You've heard me talk a lot about this, and I will talk about this until my last breath. Because that is what Lord Buddha also wanted from the bhikkhus. He would look at the congregation of bhikkhus, and there's a few times where he says, he smiles, and Venerable Ananda says, Bhante, why, there's the Tathagatas, when they smile, there's got to be a reason. You're smiling. Why are you smiling, Bhante? And Lord Buddha says, I'm smiling because I look at this assembly, and he says, the lowest level of attainment is a Sotapanna. Wow. Lowest. How though? Because they had the urgency, Sangvega. Even putting on the robes has to come from Sangvega, not a matter of circumstance or convenience. That's why I believe the whole system has to change, in Asia especially, where children should be sent, could be sent, if the family wants to, if the child wants to stay in a monastery, but they need to be pulled out. They need to be exposed to life, and then by choice, now the adult has to go, and if they choose to, then they have to be proving themselves worthy for the robes. That is going to make sure that we have legitimate Sangha. Otherwise, it's just like, yeah, we'll do something. It's like the blind leading the blind. But unfortunately, like we know from the law of thermodynamics, the second law, energy moves from a state of orderliness to disorderliness, to chaos. This is something we cannot control. Lord Buddha could not control that, unfortunately. So the key thing is Sangvega. How much Sangvega is in the person's heart? That will guarantee the success in nobility or the failure. Almost 8 billion of us will fail. Almost every one of us will fail, because the urgency is for something else. It's for money, it's for wealth, it's for having a family, it's for having children, it's for having grandchildren, it's for having fame. That's not Sangvega. So a person like that can even become a monk. I had one person say, in order for you to attain even the first jhana, you had to meditate for 40 years in a hut. 40 years. Human years, not dog years. Look at the ridiculousness. So that is up to the pace of the person, like that farmer did. I love that story. Or I don't know if it really happened, but it's a lovely anecdote. So I hope I was able to somehow respond to your question.
Maybe you can give us a recommendation of what we should be doing to attain that level.
Why do you think I shared with you the metta today? That is powerful, because we have lost the connection with ourselves. People don't know how to smile. If I showed you pictures of my teenage years, you don't see me smiling. Really. I had a miserable childhood. I was subject to abuse of all kinds. So I didn't see that there was a reason for me to feel joy, happiness. Dhamma gave me that. Giving my time to others gave me that. And it gives, so long as there's breath, air, oxygen in your lungs, and it's working, you have the potential to have jnana dassana while you are alive. But that has to be allowed in your mind. You must relinquish your restrictive attitude towards the possibility for nibbana. Many of us are holding that so closely. No, it doesn't happen to me. It happens to some other person. Why? Who said that? Who said that? So we have all these delusional ideas. Every time you're breathing, you're actually dying to the past. Meaning you are boarding to the newness, freshness. Can you look at Dhamma with those fresh eyes? So that would be a good way to be on the right path. So I hope that helps.